It's the book of Ephesians, chapter 5. I'm going to read verses 15 to 16. And it says, "See that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil." All praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakhakwadash. Peace and blessings to the elect, the listening, learning, the Akim Wa, Awapiam. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone and the elder bishops. Much respect to the mighty Gabar Young on the house and hedges, Bini Yasha al to the marriage, and to the Gabarian making videos of edification to wake up the lost sheep. And salutations to the less scattered abroad that be unto the speckled bird. So today in the spirit, I'm meditating on discernment and how it's very important, especially in these last days, okay, where you have a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing going into false prophets, okay, going into a lot of deception in the media, right, through AI and so on and so forth, right? But hey, we're not ignorant to Satan's devices. And because of that, I should say, it's because of we have the wisdom of the Lord and we seek the knowledge and the understanding of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, which gives us the ability to discern correctly, okay? So what is the definition of discernment? The definition of discernment is the ability to judge well, okay? So it's kind of counterproductive in a society that always screams, oh, don't judge, don't judge, don't judge, okay? But then people wonder why they make the same foolish mistakes over and over again, why they fall for certain games constantly. It's because, they don't use discernment. They don't want to judge, right? When Yahushua said, I believe in the book of John, to make righteous judgment. I believe that's John, the 7th chapter. Let me get that real quick. Okay, this is John chapter 7 and verse 24. Yahushua's words, red letters, okay? Yahushua, who the world inly calls Jesus Christ. Yahushua being the true name of the Son. John 7 and verse 24. It says, judge not according to the appearance. And in these days, everybody is judged according to the appearance, right? You got women judging men by their height, by how much money they make, by their clothes, You have that foolish dating show called Balloon Challenge, where, a Jake can be in tip-top shape, got nice clothes on, got a good job, making decent money, but his shoes may be not to the liking of the women who have the balloon. So they'll pop the balloon. So they made that judgment, okay, based on the appearance. And this is what society does. Men do the same thing, okay? But at the end of the day, it's very double-minded for society to say, don't judge, don't judge, don't judge. But people make judgments every day. However, they don't make judgment according to righteousness. John 7 and 24 in its entirety. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Now, we just went into the definition of discernment, the ability to judge well, okay? So yes, we can judge righteous judgment according to the scriptures, according to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, okay? Not according to false Christianity and Catholicism. They tell you don't judge, okay? Which is stupid. How are you supposed to have the ability to make a wise judgment in a relationship? Or if a friend says, yo, let's go get this money real quick, and it may involve you being, killed. So you have to make a righteous judgment, righteous discernment, right? So, what made me come up with this lesson, the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, one of my good friends, he's seeking the truth to the best of his ability, not as much as he should, okay? But he sometimes, he hits me up and he asks for, guidance to the scriptures. Okay, and I give him it. Like the scripture says, freely thou has received, so freely give. But at the same time, he has another friend that I met. So I could say, mutual friendships or whatever. Okay. Now he's not an Israelite, this friend. And he gives his own, advice based on the flesh, while I'm giving righteous wisdom according to the scriptures. So, at the end of the day, you don't want to be tossed to and fro. Okay. So it's better to choose a man of wisdom. Okay. As a matter of fact, let's get this real quick. Let's go to the book of Sirach. Sirach chapter 37. And I also have a Good News Translation Bible. So I want to get into that real quick. Salakia. Let's go to Sirach chapter 37 and verse 12. Good News Translation, Akim Wakwathian. Listen up. It says, instead, rely on someone who is religious. Now we understand that worshiping Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, that is our religion. Okay. We are religious. We have a religion according to the scriptures. Okay. The true religion, I should say, the true worship. Sirach 37 and verse 12 in the Good News Translation says, instead, rely on someone who is religious and known to keep the Lord's commands, someone who is sympathetic with you, who will be sorry to see you fail. So a man that dwells in the wisdom and understanding of the Lord, who walks in the commandments and the laws and the statutes of the Lord, that's the person you want to rely on. Okay. A person who, will be there for you if you fall. Okay. A man of wisdom and understanding. I want to get this real quick. That's the spirit. I want to go to Isaiah chapter 11. And then I'll start at verse 2. And let's see how that sounds in the NLT. Give me 1 second, Israel. Isaiah chapter 11. Ooh, I like that. Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 2. And I will read down to verse 3. It says, and the spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, right? So with that wisdom and understanding, you will have the ability to what? Judge well, to make righteous discernment, right? Isaiah 11 verse 2 in its entirety, it says, and the spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord, right? A man, a religious man, right, who keeps the Lord's commandments out of the fear of the Lord, okay? Verse 3 says, he would delight in obeying the Lord. He would not judge by appearance, right? We just read that in John 7 and verse 24. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment, right? Isaiah 11 verse 3 says, he will delight in obeying the Lord. He will not judge by appearance, nor make a decision based on hearsay. So it's very, very imperative, man. If you need guidance or need any type of advice when it comes to life, man, why not seek it out of the scriptures yourself? And if you don't, say if you don't have the the understanding of reading the scriptures, man, well, guess what? If you have a brotherhood, a man who studies, a man who walks in the Lord, seek him. Okay? Seek him, man. Because at the end of the day, you have people, especially in these last times, who don't even give a damn about you. They may seem like they're cool with you. They might give you some type of advice, but guess what? When that advice fails, then they're gone. You have people that want to see you fail, man, that purposely want to see you fail. Purposely, that you got people that don't even like you and you don't even know it. Oh, let's get this. Whew, let's go back to the Good News Translation. Sirach. Check this out. Sirach chapter 37. Let's go back. Let's jump up Yep, to verse 7. Okay. Sirach 37 and 7, and I will read down to verse 9. This is the Good News Translation. It says, anyone can give advice, but some people do so only in their own interest. Be careful when somebody offers you advice. Find out first what his interest in the matter is, because you can be sure that he is thinking primarily of himself. And this is the society that we live in. Every man for himself. Okay? Every man for himself, which is going to get even worse when Jacob's rules hit and there is no order, man. Just chaos. Okay? Let's continue. It says, why should he come out on top instead of you? He will assure you that things look good and then stand back to watch what happens to you. So you have people that will give you advice just to see you fall, just to watch you fail, man. Okay? So why not seek the counsel of a godly man, a man who's really walking that walk of righteousness, man, who is a doer of the word, not a hearer only. Especially the Lord has you, has you next to him, man. That's a gift. Okay. Now, I'm not saying, when somebody gives you advice to be an asshole and say, no, F that, Sometimes you have to take them with a grain of salt and you have to use wisdom. Okay. And then, go to a man of understanding and say, hey, a dude said this, he gave me this advice, but what does the Lord say? Because the scriptures tell us that necessary patience. Let me get that. Let's get that. I know is it in Sirach? I think it's in Sirach. Let me get this real quick. It is Sirach. This is Sirach chapter 20 in verse 32. It says, necessary patience in seeking the Lord is better than he that leadeth his life without a guide. So when you seek the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, you're seeking the scriptures, right? Reading for wisdom, knowledge, understanding. But say that if you don't have a Bible, or say you're, as they say, a babe in the truth, right? You seek wise counsel. Okay, you seek a man in the Lord who's been in this truth, man. Pushing it, to the best ability, man. Reading, studying, praying, teaching. Okay. So you don't want to be that person without a guide, man. You want to be patient and seek the man in the Lord, right? Going back to Sirach 37 and 2, and it says, continue with a godly man, right? In the Good News Translation, it says, rely on someone who is religious, right? And known to keep the Lord's commands. Okay. And shalom to Chazak Ban Yahweh. Shalom wa barakatah, brother. Shalom, man. So I said, you don't have to be an asshole, man. Sometimes you take it with a grain of salt. Okay. But ultimately, you go to the Lord, or you go to the men of the Lord, man. This is Sirach chapter 6 and verse 6. And I read it in the Good News Translation. It says, exchange greetings with many, but take advice from only one person out of 1,000. Okay. What does that mean? That one person out of 1,000, in this case, is a man of the Lord, because you have many out there, man, who teach this and teach that. But are they living according to what they're saying? There's a saying, if you're going to talk the talk, walk the walk. And many walk in the flesh. See, we're not walking in the flesh, man. We're not warring after the flesh. We're walking in the spirit. So we want to walk in wisdom, man, especially as the days are evil. Okay, especially in these days of deceit, as it says in the title. Everybody's out for themselves, man. Okay, so again, Sirach 6 and 6, it says, exchange greetings with many, but take advice from only one person out of 1,000, man. So that man in the Lord, that one out of 1,000, is going to stir you in the right direction. Because again, like I said, these people that especially these influencers, right? these influencers that want to teach you, that want to give you dating advice, marriage advice. And these influencers don't even have the spirit, the upright spirit, man, to honor marriage, man. A lot of them don't even know what marriage is. They think marriage is a man getting on one knee and placing a ring on the woman's hand, okay, and being tied to the government with a marriage license, man. No. Marriage is when a man and a woman come together and become one flesh, man. Sex consummates the marriage, okay? And then you go before the Lord and you make a covenant, all right? Not based on what these influencers say, and definitely not based on what these wicked Christians say, man. They tell you that sex before marriage is fornication, but yet these same Christians, right, who believe there is no law, are sleeping with other men's wives, okay, or sleeping with the drummer boy, man. Okay. I want to get this, because at the end of the day, you have to see how that person's lifestyle is as well. Sirach chapter 37, verse 19, it says, there is one that is wise and teacheth many, and yet is unprofitable to himself. So you may have a person that may be highly intelligent, man. Okay. He might be philosophically sound, but then his life is in shambles. Okay. Then you have a person who comes with the scriptures, and he may not be seen as a great man in the eyes of the people in society, but he has that knowledge of the Lord. Okay. And he's walking the walk, man, to the best of his ability. That's who you want to cling on to. Okay. A man of the Lord that can steer you in the right direction. Skazak ban Yahweh with Matthew 13 and verse 16, it says, but blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard. That heard them. Slakia. I'll read that again. Those things which ye hear and have not heard them, man. So you got to also think about it, man. You have prophets that haven't heard the things that we hear today, man. So we have this ability, man, to hear these things, man, to hear this wisdom, understanding, to embrace this wisdom, man, to embrace this wise counsel, understanding that we are in the last days, understanding, make a discernment of who is really going to help you and who is really for themselves, right? Let's get this real quick. Let's go to Micah. Let's go to Micah real quick. I think I'll keep it in the NLT. Let's see how that sounds. Micah 7 and 5, right? Micah 7 and verse 5. Is that what I wanted? Yeah. This is Micah 7 and verse 5, okay? It says, don't trust anyone, not your best friend or even your wife. Okay? This is going into that time of division, which we are in, man. We see multiple news articles of kids coming against their parents, man. Doing all type of wickedness, man. Friends betraying one another. The scripture says that many shall betray one another and deliver each other up to the courts, man. Okay? The love of many has waxed cold as sin increases. So we have to stick to wisdom. We have to have discernment, man, the ability to judge according to the Lord, according to wisdom, and remaining with those that fear the Lord, man. Because again, they are the ones that's going to, help us on that journey towards righteousness, man. Because at the end of the day, we all have to seek our own salvation with fear and trembling. But Yahweh Bashem Yahushua has given us a brotherhood, man, the body. Okay. I want to go to Ezekiel. I want to grab some things. Ezekiel chapter 44. Uh, Ezekiel chapter 44 and verse 23. Now, this is going into the high holy days, right, in the Levitical law, but we could also apply this in the situation. Okay. And just let me read this real quick. Ezekiel 44 and 23, it says, and they shall teach my people the difference between the holy and the profane, and cause them to discern, right, between the clean and unclean. Now, if you have a man of the Lord, especially an Israelite man, trying to give you the wisdom and understanding of the Lord, and then you have another dude, which is trying to give you his wisdom, which one is clean and which one is unclean? You see, one is according to the spirit, the other is according to the flesh, man, leaning on his own understanding. Okay, so I'm reading that again. Ezekiel 44 and 23, it says, and they shall teach my people. So the Lord has sent what? Prophets, teachers, okay, apostles, to do what? To teach my people the difference between the holy and profane. Profane means what? Outside of the temple. And cause them to discern between the unclean and the clean, right? There's also one in Malachi. That's beautiful. Let's get this real quick. Malachi chapter 3. Check this out. Let me scroll. Let me go down. I think it's Malachi chapter 3. Is it? Yes, right here. Right? I'm just going to get straight to the point. This is Malachi 3 and verse 18. It says, so now we read in Ezekiel 44 and 23 about what? Discerning the holy from the profane and the clean from the unclean, right? So Malachi 3 and 18 says, then shall ye return and discern between the righteous and the wicked. Now that return is meaning what? Returning back into what? To the Lord. Returning back into the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? Being reborn. That's what it means. Then ye shall return and discern, there goes that word again, between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and him that serveth him not. Okay? This is why discernment is very important. This is why discernment is going to be life and death in these times, man. If you're not in wise counsel, how the heck are you going to be able to navigate the obstacles, the lies, the illusions, and the deceit in these last days, man? How? How are you going to do it? Okay. This is Proverbs chapter 27 and 12. Beautiful. A prudent man perceiveth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. You're going to have those who are simple and will not take the counsel, man. They won't take it, man. But then what? When they make a foolish decision, they want to make a TikTok video or whatever, crying, talking about, oh, why did this happen? Or why didn't this happen? This is Sirach chapter 5 and verse 2. It says, follow not thine own mind and thy strength to walk in the ways of thy heart. Why is that? Because in the book of Jeremiah, it says, the heart is deceitful and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Okay. So leaning on our understanding is a no-no. And then listening to a heathen, that's a big no-no, especially when a man of the Lord is trying to give you the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, man. Okay, to better your life, man. Now, hey, at the end of the day, time moves on the Lord's time, man. So yeah, maybe things may not get better right away, but guess what? Now you have that hope, because you heard the words of the Lord, man, through a man of the Lord versus a man of the world. Right? The scripture says you cannot serve two masters, man. So either serve the Lord or serve the world, man. Okay. So again, man, discernment is imperative in these last days. Okay. This goes not only for what you see in society, right? What you see on TV, I should say the news, or hey, even these pastors, man. But this also goes with your personal life, man, your relationships, right? Your friendships. Because Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right? Yahweh Shai said in the book of Luke that he's come to bring division. So this is, you have to expect people that's going to use you for their own gain, man. As a matter of fact, let's get this real quick. What time is it? We're in 26. Okay. Won't make this too long. Where is it? Thrice. Let me get this. Where is it? I know it's in the Apocrypha, Salakia. It's the rock right here. Let's start at verse 4. Because again, people will use you for their own benefit. Okay. People will befriend you. People will try to give you advice, even though they know it's wrong. Okay. Even though they know it's gonna lead you into a worse position than you are now. Okay. This is Sirach chapter 13 and verse 4. It says, if thou be for his profit, he will use thee. But if thou have nothing, he will forsake thee. If thou have anything, he will live with thee. Yea, he will make thee bear and will not be sorry for it. You see that? You have those again that will act like they're your friends, will give you all type of advice. Hey, they'll, whatever, man. They'll call you, hey, brother, blah, 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 blah. But there's always agenda, man. This is why in Sirach 37, starting at the 7th verse in the Good News Translation, I think it says find out what his interest in the matter is. Okay, because he's thinking of himself. So you have to use that discernment, man. Okay. Sirach 13, where was I? And verse 6, it says, if he have need of thee, he will deceive thee and smile upon thee and put thee in hope. See that? Yeah, man, if you do it this way, man, that's a guarantee, man. You're gonna, you try to make money, here's the, there's always an agenda, man, especially in these times. Okay. Sirach 13 and verse 6, I read it in its entirety. It says, if he have need of thee, he will deceive thee and smile upon thee and put thee in hope. He will speak thee fair and say, what wantest thou? And he will shame thee by his deeds until he have drawn thee dry twice or thrice. So that means what? Using you multiple times, man, for his benefit. And it says, and at the last he will laugh thee to scorn afterward. When he seeth thee, he will forsake thee and shake his head at thee. You see that? So you have people out here that will act like they trying to give you some profitable advice, which if it's not of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, hey, like the scripture says, if it be of man, it will come to naught, right? So worldly wisdom will come to naught. So this is why we're going to dwell in the wisdom of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, man. Okay, that will keep us stable. Isaiah 33 and 6 tells you. So having discernment with certain people, man. You don't want to be tossed to and fro, man. Listen, hey, I know I have brothers, man. And, Kazak Ban Yahweh is one of them. If I ever need any type of, advice according to the spirit, I know I have brothers that would direct me in the right path, man. I'm not going to talk to no damn person in the world, especially no damn heathen. Okay. Verse 8 says of Sirach 13 of Salakia, my mouth is dry. Sirach 13 and verse 8 is, beware that thou be not deceived and brought down in thy jollity. Okay. So discernment will give us the ability to judge well according to righteous judgment, John 7:24. And with that righteous judgment, we'll continue with the godly man. That's in Sirach 37th chapter. Okay? Who will what? Lead us in the right direction. And with that discernment, we'll have the ability to judge from the clean and the unclean, the righteous from the wicked. So that's all I have to the spirit and power Yahweh Shini Shai. As the title says, discernment is imperative in these last days of deceit. I pray that y'all were edified. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rarachak, Wadash, the Wada to Kazak Ban Yahweh for this for the precepts, brother. The Wada. And Shalom. I'm sorry, Salah. See, Shalom to Zion, Nawad, daughter of Jerusalem. Shalom, beloved sister. Shalom wa barakatam.